What is up, comic book fans? Welcome to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. I'm here, Mike Spider Slayer. This week, Cat Comic Uno is here. Unfortunately, this week we're missing Brant. He tried making it on the show, but he is feeling pretty sick. He's been sick all day. He's been giving us the heads up. I think he's dealing with, he said it's not COVID, so that's good. He doesn't think it's a flu. It could be allergies or whatever the case may be, but he couldn't come on tonight. So we apologize about that. But at least we got Kat on here who's barely keeping herself alive as she's dealing with helping her brother move and dealing with traveling around the globe. So she's dedicated. She's here today so we could have this show. And honestly, if she wasn't going to be on here, I was still going to do it myself anyway.
Ooh, well, I'm glad I'm here. I am glad that you could have someone to bounce off of to chit chat. I'm sad that I got to miss last week. It seemed like it was a really fun show. But yes, traveling America this whole entire summer. But I was able to make it, helping my brother move, doing all that fun jazz, and so many Comic-Cons. There's a lot of great Comic-Cons coming up, so a lot of good stuff this summer. But let's get into those books. We actually have a lot of comments here. So we have Bree who says happy 10 years. Oh, this is weird. This is a new way to look at the comments. Did that happen to you guys last week? Are you seeing like the graphic?
That's different. You might be able to change that. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe.
that's weird, but we'll keep it for now. Then we also had a question from Parker's Luck. So for all three of us, which is just the two of us this time, what was your favorite comic story that you knew that you loved that got you to love comics as a whole? That's a really good question to start before we get into the books, about the books that we like this week.
Let's see. Ooh. That's tough, man.
Good books.
When I was a kid and I just got random comic books, my story that I knew that I was going to love comics and keep reading them was actually Kraven's Last Hunt. I thought that was actually pretty cool. Because I remember, I don't even know how I got that first issue, like that, the very first part of it. But I remember reading it and I remember how dark it was. And I was like, man, this is like a great Spider-Man story. But I was super young, but I just knew like I wanted to read more comics after reading that comic book.
I would say Spider-Girl. That's always my answer for everything. But yeah, no, that was one where I was like, oh, I want to be a Wednesday warrior. I just love this book. It was a book where I was like, I can't wait for the next month to get that next issue. So that's for me. We have a couple cool comments here. So Colin says, just got back into comics recently, and two of my favorite comic YouTubers are streaming together. Do you do this often? Every week, which is pretty cool. So we do this every Tuesday at 10:15. This is not just a random showing of your favorite YouTubers. We've known each other for a very long time and been doing this show for a very long time.
Yeah, we've been doing this show for like, it's been different iterations of it, but it's been going on for like over 10 years.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so interesting. Like there's books that have come out, like which I could announce that I'm working for Read Pop. They just released their new website, Popverse. So it's interesting. I'm writing stuff about like Miss Marvel and like Jane Foster because they have movies coming out and like television shows. And I remember talking about these specific things on the show. And then I see like dates like 2014. And I'm like, what? That's such a long time ago.
I know. And we started so far before that. It was crazy just with everybody that has been and has been on the show and has come off the show and just stuff like that. But it's been an adventure. But us three have managed to take it together, still do it.
And I would say doing our best iteration of the show. I love what we do now. And I think I love the show that we have. And how it's grown over the years. Well, let's get into some comics. I do see some other questions, but I think we should at least start with some books. I read my books digitally this week. I don't even have them in front of me. Yeah, I read them on the
plane. That's great. I'm going to be interested to see some of these comments when you're out of your element reading comic books,
Yes. It was an interesting week for books. There wasn't anything. Well, there was like one or two big books, but there weren't anything too big this week.
Yeah, I thought there was good books, but there wasn't like I felt like there wasn't outstanding books, if I could
Yeah.
say that.
No,
But
I agree with you.
let's kick it off. There's definitely going to be spoilers here, and but that's just what we do, right? We spoil it, and it's a week after. So we're going to talk about Savage Avengers issue 1. So this is the new volume. If you're following legacy numbering, it's legacy numbering 29, which we
That's
have
weird.
29 viewers right now, which is funny. But I did actually like this. I mean, we know that Conan is going away now, so I don't know how long the series is going to go. If eventually Conan's going to be written out of this and it's going to be a completely different Savage Avengers, I don't know. But I like this book because I like the way the team. It wasn't like a what am I trying to get at here? It wasn't like it was not like it was like this lame story where they didn't even try. It was just there was a lot of dialogue, there was a lot of action, there was great artwork. You got introduced to the team, you got introduced to the characters, and by the time you got to the end of it, they got to a certain place, which was Conan's time. And I thought it was cool, man. I thought it definitely surprised me. And I do like the cast of characters. It's definitely an oddball bunch of characters, but I like them all in that book.
I don't know. It wasn't for me. I it wasn't a character I gravitated towards. I would say that like out of everybody, I was most excited for Elektra, but because it was exactly what said, it is very much an introduction book. It's like this is what this character is doing, this is what this character is doing. Let them all come together. I think it was just again, it wasn't for me. I don't think it was a bad book. It there just wasn't an element where I was like, oh, I'm excited for that. So I don't know if I want to pick up issue two, which is a shame. I wanted to be excited for this book, but yeah, I never even read the original stuff, so I guess it's not too much of a surprise. And also, like, I never grew up with Conan and those type of characters, so yeah, it didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a real big Conan guy either, but it was cool to see some of these other characters that we haven't really seen all that much. I mean, yeah, we've seen Elektra, but we haven't seen Flash all that much, and he's in there. And Deathlock is the enemy in there, which is kind of cool. And Cloak and Dagger is in there, which is kind of cool as well. So I was like, it's neat. Yeah, even though it was a setup, at least they got to the point of where they got to. Kind of reminding me, like Deathlock reminded me a little bit of Predator, where it was like he can stealth himself and he was searching out for everybody. So it was cool. I'll give the second issue a try, see where it goes from here. All right. So what was this one? I heard Conan will be allowed to finish out the Savage Avengers series, even if Marvel loses the rights during the run, part
Oh,
of the
that's good.
contract. Okay, that's very cool.
So, you Conan fans, I guess you should stick around with this one because it probably will be his last story at Marvel for as long as it goes.
Oh yeah. Tevia says, any Marvel DC events you think were great from the past decades?
Oh
Well,
man,
there's a
great.
lot, man. I thought when I got back into comics in the early 2000s or 2007, whenever Civil War came out, I thought that event was great, personally.
Was that in the last 10 years though? Was that when did Civil War come out?
Well, it's over 10 years now.
Right?
Yeah.
The last 10 years?
He put
Honestly,
decades as
oh,
an S.
decades. Okay, then
Yeah.
that's fine. Decades. Yeah, no, Civil War was great because they did so much in that one. If I'm trying to think of recent events though, the New 52, I think it was just so. I know everyone says like, oh, they have their thoughts on the New 52, but it did something monumental. And DC, it got a lot of people in DC Comics. I know for you, Mike, you got into DC Comics with the New 52.
Yeah.
It had guts, in my
Yeah.
opinion. I think there were some
I
good books that came out of it.
I think it was good and bad
Oh
because
yeah, not everything
DC
positive about it.
DC got me reading DC comic books because I didn't read anything DC except Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. That was pretty much it. And I think I read Blackest Night before the New 52 launched, right? I think that was the only stuff that I really read. And however, if it wasn't for New 52, I don't think Marvel would have rebooted. I think they would have stayed where they were, and you wouldn't have had Marvel now. And then
Yeah,
all
with
be
their
all different,
relaunch.
because they tried to do the same thing in a way that DC did.
We actually do have a good question. Speaking of DC, Colin says, "Can you recommend any good ongoings to hop onto from DC from this year? I only really know about Marvel." That's hard because I don't think there's a ton at DC that I'm like loving. But like, if you have to pick one book, Dark Knights of Steel. That's the easiest answer because it's so new reader friendly. And I would say Robin. I think Robin's really been consistent. Nightwing, I used to say, but I don't think it's been as consistent. So if I had to pick two books, I would say Robin's and Dark Knights of Steel.
World's Finest you can jump on because it's
That's
so
an easy
new.
one. Yeah, that's a new one.
Yeah, but
I still think Dark Knights of Steel is the better book compared to World's Finest.
yeah.
But
I
you're
just
looking
if
for
you're
a
looking for
DC
any
book.
kind of like continuity or universe jumping, like there is none. It's just kind of pick a character that you like or you think you might like, and then see if you like the story that it presents to you. You know, that's the only thing I can say when it comes to DC Comics, honestly. I mean, yeah, when I look at the amount of comics that I read from DC Comics in the beginning of New 52 to now, it's like almost nothing.
I know. It's crazy. It's we're living in an interesting time when it comes to mainstream comics in general. We do have a couple of comments here. Serenity says, "What scary movie you in, Cat?" Moving. That's the scary movie of that. Helping Moving. The other thing I have here is blasting and stashing. I thought War was good. I loved War of the Realms. I thought that was a really good event. That's one of my favorites in recent years.
I liked Original Sin, but I know Kat didn't like Original
Yeah,
Sin.
not a big fan. But looking back at it, it's cool how many things came out of Original Sin. You had Silk come out of it.
Yes.
There's some Watcher stuff that's still involved, but to this day that happened in Original Sin.
Right.
Still don't like the event, but I can respect
People
that.
say like, oh, nothing comes out of these events, but when you look at Original Sin, there's a lot that came out of Original Sin. But you know, and now we're about to have another Marvel event shortly, so we'll see how that one turns out. Right.
We do have another question from John Stout. Are you on Twitch as well on YouTube? I'm missing a lot of comments. So we actually have two streams going on. We're on Mike's channel. So I will comment that if you're watching on Comic Book Weekly. And if you're watching on Mike's channel, we're also on Comic Book Weekly. So we stream from both channels. So if you want to see both chats, that's the best way to see it. So there you go.
That's right. All right. So Bear made a comment, says Mark Waid is doing the new Batman vs. Robin book. That's a new mini, which ties into Robin. Way the new writer spinning out World's Finest somehow.
We'll definitely talk about that soon.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So let's talk about the next book. I Hate This Place, issue 1. This book was pretty weird, man, but I liked it. There's a lot of horror books coming out these days. We got this one that came out, and then not tomorrow's comics, but next week's comics. There's a bunch of dark and horrific books getting ready to come out. This is another one about two women living together or going to live together on this farm. And we get that it was owned by one of the women's great aunt or aunt. And they never visited this place before. She never did. And you found out that she inherited, and this place is like haunted. And it's haunted by like ghosts and UFOs. And they investigate this place. And there's this safe room that they go into when the events actually happen. And you can never leave this place once you're part of it. And their whole goal is to stay here for an entire year so they can try to sell it and make the money off of it, you know, sell the farm, everything else. And so that's what they're going to try to do, stay there for 1 year. I thought it was an interesting concept. It was a little creepy. Art was a little weird for me. It was like a little boxy.
Definitely stylistic.
Yeah, right. But I like the story, and I'm very intrigued on where this is going to go.
I like the concept of the story that it seems like she was there when she was younger and somehow escaped because you get those flashbacks. That intrigued me. Obviously, say I thought it was gay. That was cool. But I wanted to like this more because I love horror. I love queer stories. But this felt like this would have been a much better graphic novel than a single issue stuff because it was too slow for me. I was like, I don't think there was enough here for me to get a hook for issue 2. But if this was a graphic novel or even a short film, I think I would have enjoyed this more. It felt like more of a screenplay than a comic, which was weird.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how it picks up in the second issue. Obviously, I saw where they were going with the setup, So, I liked it. Like I said, a story like that, I feel like I gotta definitely give it time to get fleshed out a little bit more, and I think I can have a better handle on it by issue 2 or 3.
Yeah. I don't know how long it is. I'm guessing it's only a mini series. I don't think
Yeah,
it's going to be an
I'm
ongoing.
sure it's
Yeah.
not that long. All right, I got a comment here. Read manga, much better. American comics suffer from lack of freedom of speech, expression, and creativity. Chainsaw Man, Claymore, and Berserk are better than comics in the last few decades.
I think there's great manga out there. There's bad manga out there. There's great comics out there. There's bad comics out there. I think both mediums have a lot to offer. And it depends on what comics you're reading. Yeah, of course, the Marvel and DC books are going to be a bit more editorial heavy. But if you're reading an Image book, that's their creative freedom. That's literally Image is not telling them to write what anything. They're writing
Yeah.
what they want. So it depends if you're reading creator owned stuff or if you're reading work for hire.
Yep, I agree. That's your place to tell your story is in those independent comic books for sure. I don't read much manga myself, but the one manga I did read, and I only read the first volume. I gotta get my hands on the rest of it. Is Berserk. I love that freaking.
I remember
book.
you bought that.
Yeah.
You
Oh
liked
my
it.
god, it's so freaking good, and it's just finding the time to read that whole volume. But it's so well written, and it's so like out there that I really enjoyed it, and I like it too because of how violent it is. It just kind of really pushes that envelope. So really cool stuff. All right. So that means that we're diving into our number 5 book already. So, Kat, what was your number 5?
This was a 2.5-star book, but it is on my number 5. Batman, the world's finest book, Batman Superman. I liked last issue a lot more. This one definitely played with the plot a little bit more, which I'm not interested in. I could care less about the plot. I love Supergirl and Robin, and you get a little bit of them here. I just like the character dynamic. I'm curious to see where this book's gonna go. I think
Yeah.
this, they're obviously gonna go to present time somehow, and that's what I'm more curious about than the plot right now.
Yeah, I like the last issue better too. This book is really good when you have those character moments, and there wasn't as many character moments. I'm not a fan of Doom Patrol because I don't have the history with them, not because I have anything against them or I think they're dumb or anything like that, but I don't get that connection with them. I get more of a connection with Dick and Kara and Batman and Superman and those characters in there. I did like how the Flash was inserted in this book, which I thought was really good too. How Jordan was in there. I love the ending of it too. So that caught me by surprise by the villain taking control of Alfred. So I thought that was awesome, but it just did lack the character beats a little bit more. But I wouldn't say for me, I didn't think it was a 2.5. I thought it was a little bit higher, but it was also my number 5.
Ooh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'm glad we're at least in that regard.
Right.
We both were in the same field. Let's see if we actually have a comment here. Parker Luck says, to both of you, what properties that are new would you say are ready to be a comic adaptation? Oh man, I don't like when books like, let's say Naomi. Naomi became a TV show and it only had 5 issues. I like when they live a little bit longer and you're like, oh, we can adapt plenty of stories. Like even Jane Foster, I think that's a great and even Miss Marvel. Those are 2 characters that are newish, but I think they have enough issues where it's like they can adapt something.
Sure.
Miles Morales is a good example, but when you have like an issue 1 come out and then like we're making a movie out of this, it's just like, oh, was this made only to sell for a movie or was it made to be a comic book?
Yeah, Brant and I had this discussion last week about Naomi getting canceled, and it was just like they should have never made a show for her to begin with. Like it was
Not
definitely
yet,
not
at least.
necessary, you know.
Yeah.
But it's tough. You know what I would like to see as a show? Here's a newer property. It's been out for a while. There's only 23 issues of it, but you can definitely make a story of something is killing the children.
Oh yeah,
And
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that's already, I guess it's in the works or whatever it is, but that's a perfect show of seeing, seeing that make it to TV, because you can already tell the story. The first arc is complete. You can tell you can tell a season there. But yeah, definitely that is the perfect one out there. Another one I think people are talking about, which I think it was also option, is Noctera.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that could be really good. Even what is it? The Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo book, the
Oh, we have demons.
We Are Demons, the book. Like I could even see that being a show, because there's a strong plot there, and you can go, there's a lot of history there. Like there's but yeah, Naomi, there just wasn't enough there to really get a show to last any, longevity there or anything like that, so.
And also, I mean, I don't even know if this is part of the news. I think it might be, but like the CW is just rehauling. They got bought off. A new star bought them off, so they're like, we'll see if the CW even exists after a while. Speaking of the CW, the Gotham Knights game is getting a TV show. Are you guys gonna watch it? I'm only watching it because Stephanie Brown is a main character, so I'll give the pilot a shot just because of Steph. But other than that, it looks so. I
I
don't
know
really think it
you
looks
had the
good.
poster up there for
It
news
looks
before.
bad. Yeah,
And
it
I'm
doesn't
like,
look good.
I'm like, I'd even mark it, I think, because I was like, I don't care about a poster. And I'm like, this doesn't look good. So I was just like, I'm just gonna pass on it for now.
It looks like a parody of the CW. It doesn't. It looks like they're making fun of themselves with that poster. And I'm not nervous because I don't feel like I have that much investment. Besides, yeah, Steph's in it, but Steph's been in other things, so it's like whatever. If it's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. But I'll give the pilot a shot for sure. I can't promise I'll watch past that, but I'll watch the pilot.
Gotcha. All right. Oh, some person put, this was a good book because I talked about it. King of Spies with Pierce Bronson would be awesome. I could totally see that because the spy that was in there, he was an older gentleman, and he was like in his 60s, retiring, and I could totally see that actually being a show. That would be a lot of fun. It would last like one season, I think. I couldn't see it being longer than that, but pretty cool stuff. All right, let's move forward. Let's talk about Power Rangers issue 19. That's all you.
This is actually a really good issue. We get to see the Power Rangers take care of this kid, this alien kid, and the alien's like, "Well, what happened to my parents?" And they don't really have an answer because they don't know what happened to the parents either. And you also get to see one of the more popular Rangers named Andros get a little of his story. But what was really cool as you see this kind of parenting issue at the end, the Red Ranger's mom dies, so he gets a phone call saying, "Hey, your mom's dead." They have to go back to Earth for the funeral. So like them kind of growing up and having to really be adults now, I thought was super interesting. I did not see that cliffhanger coming, so I really, really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was great.
That's cool. All right, glad you liked it. And we already talked about Batman, Superman, World's Finest, issue 3. So we talked about that. And now we're going to just move on right to our number 4. So what was your number 4 then, Kat?
Mine was Silk issue 5. It's the last issue of this mini series. It was fun. That's it. She's an old lady and she makes old lady jokes, and then she turns it back to who Silk is, and that's pretty much it. You get some dynamic between her and J. Jonah Jameson, and it was just fun. It was just kind of fun superhero book. There's nothing else to it. I kind of hate that these miniseries with the female Marvel characters don't have a lot going on besides like let's tell a fun story. But I thought it filled the void pretty nicely, and it was good.
Cool. Let's see. What did I say? We were just on number 4.
Number 4.
What was mine? Oh, mine was a book we already talked about. Was I Hate This Place.
Okay, cool.
So we talked about that. So you think Silk is going to come back with another miniseries, or
I'm sure that she will, which I hate. Just like give a real story like that. Like again, this was fun. It did its job, but I want like a real ongoing, like the Spider-Woman series we had or something like that. I feel so bad for the Miss Marvels and the Spider-Gwens that they're just kind of getting these one and dones right now.
Right. All right. So now we're going to move on to Nightwing issue number 92. So I liked this issue. I thought this issue was pretty good. However, it's like I don't like how it moves. It doesn't really move the plot still, though.
Yeah, no, there is no plot.
but but the story itself was really good. Like I like how it represented, Dick Grayson, on how he is willing to give himself up, endanger himself for others, and the flashbacks between him and Alfred, and how Alfred was the one that protected Dick. There was all that stuff was like really, really good. And then you get to the cliffhanger and you're like, God damn, can we just get to that part of the story? How many times are we going to see a cliffhanger with freaking Heartless in it and he doesn't do shit?
No, I very much agree with that. I'm on kind of in the same boat. Like I had a good time with this one. It was really cool to see Batgirl, Batman, and Nightwing kind of had that Alfred moment. But yeah, the ending is like, what is the plot of this book? And everything kind of feels so fillerish, but somehow I'm still having fun. I just don't think the book has been top tier as it was, sadly. But I still really enjoy this book, and I still think it's one of the best books on stands and one of the best DC books, especially. But it's just not the 5-star book constantly as it was when it first came out.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's just a complete stall. I feel like Tom Taylor has this story in mind, but it's not a very long story, and he's trying to decompress it as far as he can by giving you like a flashbacks of Alfred and team ups and doing all this other stuff to just stretch this book longer. That's how I feel.
Maybe he didn't know how successful it was going to be. Maybe he thought it was just going to be a few issues, and then it blew up as it did. And he's like, "Oh, I got to tell more Nightwing stories." But I kind of wish there was just more arcs, because a lot of it is just one-shot stuff going on. Like the Flash thing was like 2 issues, but it wasn't really an arc. It was just like they're teaming up. I want to
Right.
see maybe a little bit more happening in Bloodhaven, especially like the sister. The sister kind of always gets name dropped. They don't do anything with her.
Right. Yeah. It's weird. So I don't know, but I still like it. Like I really like it because it's
It's a
well
good
written.
series, good art.
It's just that plot is so slow, man. It's like, oh, come on, move it along. All right. So let's talk about Thor issue 25. So we got part 2 of this Banner War thing. And this is a pretty heavy book because this is the book where you find out that Banner went through something very bad in El Paso. He killed a bunch of people and he doesn't remember doing it. And this is the reason why you see how the Avengers are going after him. And you finally get that. And it's kind of weird because it's like his gamma radiation or something like triggered these people to turn into Hulks. And then it was that darkness inside, which I think it's maybe that Titan character or whatever it is that took over and killed them all. And so I thought that was an interesting cliffhanger there. And you got what's it called? Odin is talking to him, trying to reason with him. So I thought that was pretty interesting. You got Iron Man at the end going after him in this big ass freaking, like the armor could not get any bigger. And I was like, oh my God, that's crazy. But I liked it. I like this issue. I like how they're finally addressing what happened there a little bit.
I liked the Thor stuff the most because that's what I've been enjoying. I still have this hate for having this art because I just want to see Thor stuff, because I'm like, oh, why do we have to pause Thor, which has been so good to tell this story, that I haven't really been enjoying. And I kind of still have the same feeling of that. This didn't make me want to read more of Hulk because I have not been liking Hulk very much. But I do think this is better than what a normal Hulk story would be, because I like them being in their heads. That was probably the thing I enjoyed the most. Where you didn't really notice that was their similarities of, like, both Donny Cates is telling stories about Odin being in Thor's head and then also having Hulk be in his own head. So I thought that was cool. Like, they're talking to themselves, I thought was interesting.
And
But
they're like, and they make fun of. They're like, "Who are you talking to?" Like it
yeah,
was
yeah.
mentioned in that book, you know.
I enjoyed that aspect, but I didn't love this issue because I just love regular Thor, and we'll see where Hulk goes. I do think I'll drop Hulk at some point, but I'm giving that a fair shot. Giving Hulk a real fair shot.
I got a question here. It says, Mike, I've read a lot of Kurt Busiek. I love Astro City. And the recent one shot, I'm going to read Aerosmith as a trade because I missed the first two issues. I never read Astro City, so I
Yeah, me either.
couldn't give you any input into it. So I heard it was good though. I did hear good things about it for sure.
And I also realized we have not been giving Brant's top five. He did give us his top five, so let me go through his number 5 and 4. So number 5
Okay.
for him was Immortal X-Men. He's still reading it. And then issue 4 was Breakout issue 2. Don't read that one, but that is his number 4. And I don't think we did our number 3, so we're all caught up.
I bought Immortal X-Men for the Emma Frost cover. That's all I bought that for.
Yeah, I gave up on Immortal X-Men after issue 1. I was like, I don't need
No,
this.
I'm not gonna read them standing around doing nothing. I just hope that event that happens wipes him off this summer. That's the whole reason why I'm gonna be reading this event.
I'm feeling they won't, but for the sake of the X-Men, I hope so.
Okay.
I'm literally only reading more.
Wipe off Krakoa. That's what I want.
I like it.
All right. So now we're on number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll start with me. My number 3 was Savage Avengers. So that was my number 3.
Nice. Brant's number 3 was Power Rangers issue 19. So I'm glad he enjoyed that. And then mine was Reign issue 5. This is the finale of Reign, and we find out who was behind all this. Is actually the little boy's, the one with the umbrella, his mom. So we get that revelation in this issue, and the mom dies trying to protect the son. And I think things got rushed here. I was like,
wait,
oh man,
she was behind the Reign event.
Yeah, like she something with the father had something to do with the scientific side of things, and she was like behind it all. And it was interesting, but kind of came out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, like you just said, it's like, wait, how did that happen? They try to explain it in this issue. I liked the idea of it. I think the execution could have been a little better, but I still like the series. I think it should have been longer, honestly. I think they kind of rushed it a bit.
Huh. We get this question, and my answer to you, Tevia, is no.
They'll never do it either. They've never rebooted their universe. They're not going to start now.
No, they've changed their characters and added different characters, and maybe gender swapped their characters or added more spider people or more daredevils, but they're never going to reboot their universe. I don't feel there's a necessary to do it. If they do anything, they just redo volumes. That's what they do. You know?
Which I'd rather them do that than get convoluted
when
and
you relaunch universes, it just makes it more and more confusing.
Yeah, just do a different direction and forget the past happened, and that's the best way to do it. Bronze Page X, you guys do a lot of cover buys. I don't, honestly. I rarely buy something just for a cover, especially if it's a book I'm not reading. You do a couple of cover buys.
I do a lot of cover buys. So like I just said, like for Immortal X-Men, there was that 60th anniversary, like with Emma Frost on there as a spider character. Like I picked that up. I'll buy a lot of cover buys. I bought the what the heck was it? Is it this one? No. I bought the book that we're going to talk about in a minute, the Shadow War Zone issue 1, the Angel Breaker 1 in 25 variant. So like I bought that one. So like I do buy quite a few variants. But that's just me. And that's what's cool though about the hobby though. Like you buy what you buy. You can buy single issues. You can buy 2 of the same issue. You could buy a variant. You can not buy variants. You can buy graded books. You can buy all kinds of stuff. And that's what makes it so much fun.
Yeah, and then it's interesting to see people's hauls. I would say when I go to Comic-Cons, I like getting variant covers because I like getting those exclusive Comic-Con variants. Or, yeah, if I really like a character, like let's say Mayday or Kitty or Stephanie shows up, I'm most likely buy her for the cover.
This was that Benjamin Percy one that I picked up.
Yeah, and then you got it at a convention, so that was
Yeah,
fun.
and it was signed. So I got it signed. So it was pretty cool.
We
But
have a
yeah.
question from James. Cap, did you get robbed? Sorry, I'm late. So earlier in the cast, this is also not my house, so I guess I'm robbing my brother. I'm helping him move in, so this is why everything's empty and I'm in a different room, different area.
Yeah. And Brant's not on tonight because he's sick. So
Yes,
one of these days we'll get all three of us on together.
hopefully next week.
All right. So we talked about our number 3. We talked about Rain. And now we're going to talk about Shadow War Zone issue 1.
Yeah, this was an anthology. I didn't know that going in, and then I read it and I was like, oh no.
The only story that was interesting to me was that first story with
The Black
Black
Canary
Canary
one, right? Yeah.
and the
Same.
Angel Breaker character, because we learned that this character is the student of Black Canary. So, because she called her sensei when she was leaving. So that made it interesting. And we'll see where this character goes. But besides that, the other stories were lame. I hated the Ghostmaker or Ghost Hunter. Or what the fuck is his name?
He has an annual coming up. It's Ghostmaker. He has an annual coming up too, and it's the June 2nd week. Because I was just doing my comics for June, and that's the week where nothing comes out. Because I was like, I'm not gonna get the Batman annual because it's Ghostmaker. I'm like getting 4 other comics. I'm like, I guess I'm getting the Batman annual because I like want to get some comics that week.
Yeah,
That's
I just, oh man, I think he's going to be a traitor. I think
oh yeah, and I can see that.
because just reading like his dialogue in these books, he's just like, you guys got to listen to me. Don't worry about Batman. I'm in charge of this team now. So I just feel like he's like jealous of Batman.
And that's boring because he was already a villain. He was a villain, then magically became a hero. To see him become a villain again, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
So I don't know. We'll see if Angel Breaker has legs. I think she's a pretty cool looking character, but we'll see where that one goes from here. So it was not a good anthology book. All right. So number 2, what you got?
Mine was Nightwing. We already talked about it.
Okay. My number 2 was the Thor book. So we already talked about that.
And Brand's number 2, he's just on a roll with these X-Men books. He has New Mutant issue 25. Surprised me too. Tried it because it was a new arc focusing on Ileana and had Goblin Queen in it. Okay, that's interesting.
Now, see, if I would have bought that for a cover, but it was a 1 in 50, a 1 in 100. So that there was no way that I could afford that book. That was
No, that's a lot. That's too much. I didn't even know that there was like a Goblin Queen was showing up. I'm so out of the loop with X-Men because I just haven't cared about any X-Men book in such a long time. So it's not even been on my radar.
The
But I'm
only one
glad
I'm
liked
reading,
it.
the only one is just X-Men. So
I don't even know how
that's
you're
it.
still reading that one. I only read Marauders for Kitty, and I dropped X-Men a while ago.
I just feel like I need to read at least one to have somewhat of an understanding of what's going on. But yeah, it was rough. That last issue was a little rough too, man. So we'll see.
We do have a couple questions here. So the Bronze Page says, "You guys see Thor as a comedic character, like his trailer portrayed him?" I like it in the MCU. I think it really works. I think I like him being comedic sometimes in the comics, but I don't want him to be like a Deadpool. I actually don't love how comedic it is. I feel like it's a little too comedic, the Thor movies, but I think the Thor and Love and Thunder will tell exactly how comedic it will be. And we'll talk about the trailer later.
I like him in the movies. I think it's fun. I think when he was originally introduced, he was too serious, and then and I think he's the perfect actor to add that, sprinkle in that humor when needed. So I like when they change the direction of him. And he's been through a lot of shit, and he's very, you can see that he's very resilient. So we'll talk about that trailer later, but I like the trailer.
Yeah, me too. And I'm so excited for that movie. We do have a question, a funny one. Breebury asks, "Do you just work in order to get comics?" I think a big part of working is getting comics. No, luckily enough, like my work is comics. That's very fun. But yeah, I mean, we all love spending some money on some comic books.
Yeah, I mean, I work to work, but
right, to make a living and to live is a big part of work.
right, yeah, and I just happen to be fortunate enough to where I can buy this many comics, and I basically invest in myself, and so when it comes to going to the comic book shop, I buy those comics, and then uh, basically what happens is YouTube pays for those comics.
Yeah.
Pretty close to it. It's almost a wash because I buy a lot of stuff, but it's pretty much paid for because of YouTube, which is nice.
Oh, and Bravery says I'm a high schooler getting comics. That's awesome. We're really cool. That is really cool, and it's awesome to hear. Teens getting into comics.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Tell your friends that comics are cool.
Yeah.
Help them out. Get them in the right direction of like what to buy and stuff like that.
I agree.
All right. So let's see. Oh, we're going to talk about this crappy book right now. Fantastic Four issue 43.
Yeah. Oh, it's been so hard to stick with this book because I'm like, oh, I love Fantastic Four and I just kind of want to get out of this event, but I've really not liked this event.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything to say about it.
No, it's hard.
I read it and I skimmed through it and I'm just like, this is so boring. Like, I don't care. Like, just Dan Slott just needs to stop doing events for the books that he writes, right? So he did Spider-Man and he did Edge of Spider-Verse, which actually that was okay because that introduced a lot of characters. And for some reason, he was probably like, well, if I can do that here, I can do that with any property. So he tried doing it with Iron Man 2020. That was horrible. Now he's doing this with Fantastic Four. This is not good.
No, it's too much. It's way too much.
God,
and nothing, and it feels like nothing's happening at the same time. It feels too much, but there's not an actual plot. And the things that are interesting, like Mr. Fantastic's sister, I'm still invested in that. I want to see what's going to happen with that. We gotta wait until July. It's like, what? Well, I want to see that now. That should be the meat of this story.
Yeah, we didn't need that because the main book itself was really good. It was really interesting. I really enjoy it. And then you pull this out of your ass and say, hey, let's just do this. Like, I don't care about the Reckoning War. What the heck?
Watcher, it's like, oh man, it's too, I mean, for me, I hate cosmic events. So I'm like, I'm really not interested. But yeah, the Fantastic Four book itself was so good, which is why I'm sticking with it. I do want to like see this event through and see when we get back to the regular stuff.
Yeah.
Be like normal, but
absolutely.
It's been a long event.
Absolutely. All right, so let's talk about our number one. What's yours?
Mine's Power Rangers. I really liked that issue. I thought it was a great cliffhanger, good character work. And then for Brant, it was Nightwing issue 92. I will say Brant's usually the biggest Nightwing fan out of all three of us.
Mine was Nightwing too, though.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Yeah,
so Nightwing,
I mean, it was like we talked about. There were good books, but there wasn't books that blew me out of the water, and books that I was hoping to be number one just didn't deliver in that nature. Like Life Zero, like I've been preaching about that came out. Now it was a really good issue, but there was a lot of things that happened off panel between the end of the last issue and the beginning of this issue, and I really wish they would have put that on paper, but this is only a mini series, so I understand why they cut that out. And there was very little dialogue in this issue. And even though it was very emotional, I just felt out I missed out on a lot of stuff that I would love to read if this was another issue or two,
See, the books I wanted to really love this week, I would say Savage Avengers I wanted to love and I didn't. And then I Hate This Place I wanted to love and I didn't. Those are the two I expected I was going to really like and it didn't happen. But Power Rangers, again, blew my mind. And then Nightwing was as solid as it always is. So at least those two kind of lived up. But yeah, the top 5 this week was a little shabby, so sad to see that. Hopefully next week will be better. We will talk about our most anticipated later, but there are some interesting books I won't spoil it, but there's definitely a surprising book on my most anticipated list.
We got some Spider-Man. Okay, Kenneth is on. Hey, Kat and Mike, it's been a while since I tuned into the live stream. Well, welcome back, Kenneth.
Yeah, welcome to the show. But speaking of, let's get into some news. Before we jump into the news, I do have a Kickstarter going on for 2 more days I'm gonna screen share, get to that Kickstarter. And it's for bisexual enamel pins. So we are, again, close to ending. If you're bisexual, you got a friend who's bisexual, or you just want to support my projects, go check out By Visibility's enamel pins. They've been selling really well at conventions, which is mostly why we did this Kickstarter, is to have these for conventions. But we thought it'd be nice to do a Kickstarter for it as well. So go check that out. I'll have a link in the description so you guys can go check it out. Like I said, it's only 2 days left, so Thursday is going to be the last day you could do that. But let's get into our news, because we actually have a lot. I was shocked how much news pieces came out this week. Let's start with let's see, we'll start out with the media stuff. So we were talking about the Thor trailer. Let's jump into that. So I didn't know a new Thor trailer was going to come out so soon, but I guess you should expect it because July is around the corner. And I was a lot happier with this trailer. Not that I disliked the first one, but I love seeing more Jane. I really like the trio's dynamic. I'm really excited to see Valkyrie, Jane, and Thor team up. I think that's going to be really cool.
Oh, we got a super chat on there too.
Ooh, there we go. All right, so super chat is on Just League lineup. This from Supreme Omega. Thank you so much for the $5. Since Wally's back on the Flash, would you want him and Kyle to be on the JLA again, just like in the 90s? I don't know if there will be a Justice League because they're all going to die. So I don't know.
I want Kyle back, period.
Yeah, Kyle hasn't been in anything. I don't even know what he was last up to.
So disappointing. He's like my favorite DC guy, and like he's not in anything at all. It just drives me crazy, man.
Him and Carol Ferris, they're off doing something.
And I got Andrew, who's a huge supporter of my channel. He says, "Hey, all, long time listener, first time caller. He's never actually commented on the show before. So thanks for tuning in on the show, Andrew." And so we're talking about Thor. Christian Bale's character is amazing, plus the black and white.
I didn't even know it was. I mean, I knew it was him because I knew he was playing that character. But looking at that trailer, I would never have thought it was Christian Bale.
I love the trailer, man. I thought like everyone was kind of like, you know, obviously when they showed the teaser, oh, I don't know. I think this is going to be like a hippie movie. Even my son was like, this doesn't look good. And I'm like, give it time. I'm like, it's just a teaser. Wait till you see Christian Bale. And I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be a lot better. And it looked a lot better. And I want to see the dynamic between obviously Jane Foster and Thor. I thought this was a great looking trailer, man. This got me pumped. And so curious, like what other things are going to be introduced because of this movie also going forward.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited for this. I've been excited since it's been announced. I'm such a big Jane Foster fan, and I just thought this trailer really sold it. But because I was saying, like, oh, I think it was too comedic. I actually really like the gore stuff. I think that's the villain's name, the Christian Bale stuff.
Yeah.
Because it brought that darkness to it too, where you're like, oh, it might not just be all fun and games. There's going to be a really nice balance. So we have a cool comment here. Bree said, have you guys seen the Chip and Dale movie plus Ugly Sonic? I've only heard great things. My family really wants to go see it, so I'm waiting to see it with them. But I'm a big Chip and Dale fan as a twin and as a Disney fan. I actually like Chip and Dale, but I heard really good things about this movie, and that's like this big parody spoof movie. So I'm excited to watch it.
I think this movie is going to start off light, and then I think it's going to get dark as it goes along.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. And you don't even know. It could end up where it's very sad and something is, you know, leads into, say, another movie, you know?
If they're doing a Jane Foster has cancer story, I think it's got to be sad at some point. I don't think they're going to not do that storyline. I just don't think they're going to reveal it right away. I think it's going to be later in the movie. For people who don't know anything about Jane Foster, they're going to realize, oh, that's how she became worthy, is because she has cancer. I don't think they're not going to tell that story.
Right. So I don't know, man. I think this is going to be good. Let's see. What is this? Mike Manhattan says, speaking of which, did you guys see the trailer for the Mission Impossible Day of Reckoning?
I've never seen a Mission Impossible movie. So
yeah, I hate to say that too. Like, I think I saw one of them. I'm just not like a huge spy movie fan. Like,
same.
I've seen a couple James Bond movies, but I've never been into the Mission Impossible thing. I've seen a couple of them. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is about them. I don't go out of my way to watch them.
I'm more interested in Top Gun. That looked only because it's been getting good reviews. I was like, oh, I might go see that, but definitely not into Mission Impossible. I don't think I'll go see that unless like someone really wants to go see it that I go with. So yeah, the next news piece, because we talked about Thor, is Riverdale is ending finally because of the CW stuff. So there you go.
You're like, finally.
I'm surprised it's still going on. I'm not I guess I'm not surprised because making them money. It's one of the few shows that do. So I was like, all right, I'm not surprised by that. But yeah, I mean, they're finally ending it. And speaking of something that Mike also wants to talk about, Wonder Twins, the movie got canceled. It was announced like a month ago, and now it's canceled.
There is no need for ever. I'm just going to repeat, ever. A Wonder Twins movie to exist in this world.
Well, Archie was in it though. Weren't you excited for that? Archie was gonna be in it. Archie has had a sad week. Okay, he wanted his Wonder Twins movies canceled. Then he's like, all right, at least I still have Riverdale. No more Riverdale.
I can imagine them putting a script together for this movie, and then they probably reread it and like, yeah, this is gonna suck. Tear it up. We're done.
Yeah, no, look, it's because of the new direction they're taking DC, and we'll see what other things get canceled and what actually happens.
That was a smart move.
Oh yeah, that one I was like, all right, was anyone super excited for that? I don't think so. Tevye Axe have you guys seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? I love that movie. I think it's the best movie that came out this year. It's so good. If you saw Doctor Strange and you didn't like it like I did, go see Everything Everywhere instead, because it's also a multiverse movie done right. I really, really enjoyed that movie. I very much recommend
is that
it.
again?
It's with the person from Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Michelle Yeoh. It's about
I heard about that.
So good, blew my mind.
It was only in select theaters, right?
Yeah, then they did they expanded a little bit more a couple of weeks ago, but now it's gonna be on video on demand, and I think it already is. So if you wanted to buy it, yeah, just buy it on video on demand. It's mind blowing. Honestly, very much recommend. It's such a different movie. I can't see anyone disliking that movie.
Right. I heard good things about it.
Yeah, it's very good. All right, let's get into the next thing, which is Stan Lee makes a return to Marvel. People are upset because they're using his likeness again. Marvel's kind of, after he's died, they're kind of doing like the Princess Leia thing where they can use his likeness and kind of Photoshop him into movies, which I'm not surprised by. I remember when he passed away, that was a big thing people were questioning. Like, oh, are they going to do that? And I guess the answer is yes.
I mean, listen, I think it's a little bit creepy, but I would rather hear just his voice. So if they did like a narration with his voice in the background, kind of like what he used to do with like Spider-Man and his amazing friends, or be in the background, I think that would be better than actually seeing him.
It's gonna be weird. I don't think people are gonna be like Stan Lee. They're gonna be like, oh,
right. Or if you have him appear in movie cameos, then have it be like just pictures, like he's on someone's mug, and it says Excelsior, or you know what I'm saying? Like still shots of Stan, stuff like that. But do a computer animated thing, that would be just a little creepy, I think.
That's a lot, especially just for a cameo. Unless it's like, like a big reveal of something. Maybe I understand, because again, they've done it for Princess Leia. But yeah, no, it's weird. I don't know. We'll see what they end up doing with it. We also have the biggest news for this week, which was the new Daredevil show for Disney Plus. And I mean, it's the biggest news, but also not the biggest news, because we all knew that was going to happen. I'm just curious to see what the tone's going to be. Is it going to be dark or not? But I did end up watching the Moon Knight first episode, and that was like dark enough. Like it wasn't Daredevil dark, but Daredevil also wasn't more of it.
It doesn't. Moon Knight doesn't get really good until episode 4.
Episode 4. I didn't love the pilot. I thought it was fine. One of my friends wanted to go see it, so like, okay, I gotta watch this pilot. And she helped me out at a Comic-Con, so I was like, okay, I'll watch the pilot. And I watched it, and I'm like, it's not for me. Just not
It
for
gets
me.
good at like episode 4, 5, and 6. Episode 5 is just, oh man, it's so good. It's so good.
Right now, I'm catching up on my Stranger Things because I promised I'd watch Stranger Things season 3 before season 4, and I just realized season 4 is coming out this Friday. So right now, I'm catching up with
You
that.
did not watch season 3 of Stranger Things?
No, because I remember like it took me a while to watch it. And I was like, I'll just wait until season 4. I'll wait until season 4, and season 4 finally happened. And I was like, all right, I'm watching season 3. So now I won't forget anything. I could go into season 4 fresh memory.
I've
I didn't
watched
have to watch it.
season 3 twice, and I've watched seasons 1 and 2 with my family already. Like I watched 1, 2, and 3 all over again.
Oh man, I'm
By the
watching for
time
the
you
first
watch
time.
season 3 and
I'm
one
gonna
episode of
finish it.
Moon Knight.
And look, I got that one episode down. I am gonna watch Miss Marvel when it comes out. That's a promise. I will be watching that weekly because it's Kamala Khan and She-Hulk. I didn't talk about that trailer, but that looks very good. So I will be watching She-Hulk.
Yeah, we didn't talk about She-Hulk trailer actually.
Oh, you guys didn't? That was good.
No, because it happened in between shows.
Oh, okay. So She-Hulk trailer. It's gonna be a comedy, which I think is so interesting. I know people are a little iffy on the CGI, but I'm interested. I think it's cool that it seems like it's gonna be an origin story too. It doesn't seem like she's just gonna be She-Hulk. It looks like
Yeah.
they're doing the origins.
I'm excited for it. I like the tone of it. And I like in the beginning, like when she first transformed in the machine that Bruce put her in to kind of get her to control her emotions. And when she transformed into like the savage She-Hulk. You know what I'm saying? Like the brute monster. Until, it looks like you can see that in a little while, that's when she becomes like the sensational She-Hulk, where she's more confident of herself. She can control herself and whatnot. I liked it. I know, yeah, same thing. Everyone's complaining about the CG, but everyone else, though, like other people on YouTube say, like, experts in the industry say that like that's stuff that they can fix before the show actually gets
Look at
released.
Sonic. Look at
Yeah.
Sonic. That's why you release these trailers. It's just like, oh, let's see what people think. And then, yeah, people could fix that. But very excited for that. Sevia asks, how about Obi-Wan? Not maybe. I don't know. It depends on if it's like really good. I think I'll give it a shot, but I don't know.
Kat is not going to watch Obi-Wan. She doesn't like Star Wars.
I don't love Star
Wars. Forced to watch Star Wars for a show when we did Comic Frontline as a channel, and she told us like she hated it. So it's just like
Ghostbusters. I like Star Wars. I don't enjoy the prequels.
You did not like this first Star Wars movie. You did not like A New Hope. You did not
No,
like
I didn't love A New Hope. I think it got built up. I think it built up well. I think I like the second one. I like the third one. New Hope is too slow. I agree. I think that one's slow. I like the new ones. I like the Rey movies. I like the first one. I didn't like the last one. The second one was okay. I like the Darth Vader one, the Revenge of the Sith. I think
Revenge of the Sith. That's what this show's gonna be.
I gotta see what people think of it first.
This is I think it's 10 years after I think that's what it is. And that's kind of what this is. I feel like this is the show that people were looking for when Revenge of the Sith came out.
Oh, for sure.
This is kind of what they're looking for, like Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader. Like this is what they wanted.
It's coming out soon. What day is it coming? It's like really soon.
It's very soon. I think it's the end of the month, I think.
Yeah, and it's the 24th already because I was looking at the date. No Ghostbusters. I hate Ghostbusters. I don't hate Star Wars, but I do hate Ghostbusters. I really dislike Ghostbusters. All right, let's get into the next thing, which is Carnage fights the Dark Elves. I'm also getting a phone call, so I'm gonna let you talk about that, Mike.
All right. What was it? Carnage versus what?
The Dark
Elves.
Yeah.
So what was this news piece about? I totally forgot what it was. I think this has to do with Carnage issue 6, if I'm not mistaken. And Carnage has been absorbing other supervillains' powers. And most recently, it was like Hydro Man. And now in the second issue, it was the Spot. And so it looks like now he's going to be getting Dark Elf powers. Whatever the case may be, I think the Carnage book is a really well-constructed book, and it's a better book than Venom at this point. So I'm definitely going to check this out. This could be a fun story.
So also we have Deceased ending this summer, which I thought we knew, but maybe we just didn't know the date. But it's finally ending. I'm not as hardcore of a Deceased fan as Mike is. He likes Deceased a little bit more.
Yeah, so I didn't know Deceased was coming out with another part. I thought they were actually done, to tell you the truth. And when Tom Taylor was teasing something last week, I said it in our chat. I'm like, oh, it's going to be Deceased. And sure enough, it was Deceased. And this has to do with the New Gods. I am all over this shit. Like, I love the Deceased series. The first one was really well done. There was, I forgot one that was out. I don't know. The most recent one wasn't as strong, but I did like it. But that's what Tom Taylor does the best. So, like, he's currently writing Superman. He's currently writing Nightwing. However, those books for me are not as strong because he's forced to write these main characters. He always does this alternate story stuff really well. So that's why I'm really into the Deceased storyline. I think this is going to be a lot of fun, especially if you got freaking like Darkseid in there and all the other New Gods. So this is going to be cool.
So next up we have is Carter Kent is who wins the round robin. Which I'm glad it's not a Batman book, and I like Connor. The thing is with these round robins, though, they don't actually deal with the main continuity. Because if you read Robins, which none of us loved, I thought, I mean, it seemed like a book that, like, of course, this is a no-brainer. And then when I read it, I was like, oh, this is okay. I hope this book's better. I'm definitely gonna give it a shot because it's Connor, but
Yeah,
I hope it's better than Robins.
I was hoping for a different book than another Superman book, but at least it's this, at least it was
the
better.
Character we don't get to see either. Like, we haven't gotten a Connor Kent in a while.
It's better than an actual like Suicide Squad book. I definitely did not want to see that. Those two in the finals, and I was like, please at least let it be Superman, because I cannot deal with another Suicide Squad book.
No, I definitely agree. Next up is
real quick. Okay. It says, Mike, have you read Black Hammer from Jeff Lemire? I actually read the first few issues of it, and for some reason I fell off of it. My shop didn't get it for a little while, and I fell off of it, and I wound up I do have an omnibus of the first stories of it, but I'm yet to read it because I got to read all the weekly comic books. If I ever stopped collecting comics, like current comics, I got enough material to read to last me a lifetime.
But, oh my god, there's so much. I still have to read Stray Dogs.
Oh my god!
I know. I got the trade, and every single time I'll pick it up. I just don't have enough time.
Oh my gosh, you have to read Stray Dog. It won't even take you that long. It will take you probably like an hour.
I'm traveling around the world this year, so maybe during one of these trips.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, yeah.
I
met the illustrator for Stray Dogs at MegaCon too.
Oh, did you? How was that?
He was eating pizza, so I felt bad that I was bothering him. But I told him, I said hello, and I just said that his work was really good. I didn't get anything, but I just told him, and he appreciated it, so it was cool. But he was on his lunch break. I had the worst luck, man, going into this, like, trying to find creators. One guy's eating, another girl was eating her salad. Some of the people weren't there, but like I said, James Tynion was there, but I didn't go wait in line because his line was too deep. When I was walking out, Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti but their line was super long, as well. But yeah, like I said, I got Benjamin Percy and Ryan Otley. So I was happy with those ones.
Yeah, no, you had a good trip, and it's something to look forward to for the next time then. And honestly, just being on the other side, it's nice just hearing, even if if I heard some nice things about my book, I appreciate it. So I think it was all good. Next up is Damage Control is getting a mini series. I've never read anything of Damage Control, but it's an interesting cast. We have She-Hulk, we got Ghost Rider, Nightcrawler, Moon Knight. It looks fun.
Yeah, that's the only reason why I'm going to pick it up, because it looks like a fun book. and I like the cast of characters that's in it, so I'm gonna try it out. It's
Yeah,
only 5 issues, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's a mini series, so nothing to risk here. Up next is the DC is doing like a YA one shot anthology. I don't love the word anthology when it comes to the mainstream, but I love the idea that DC is doing more YA stuff that is comic books. Because they've done a lot of graphic novel stuff that I feel like maybe kids don't know of as much. So it's kind of cool. Or it doesn't bring them to the comic book store. It might bring them to Barnes and Nobles and not the comic store. So this might bring them to the comic book store, which I think is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything that you could get these people to read and get to a shop is good.
Yeah.
Kenneth says, Mike, have you read Superman 78, Batman, Superman, World's Finest? We were just talking about World's Finest in our top 5. So we both read that. Superman 78, I did not read, unfortunately, and I heard very good things about that series. Because for some reason I read Batman 89, hated that, didn't buy Superman 78, and Superman 78 was the better one out of the two.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember you read the Batman one. I didn't read either. I wasn't as invested in those, but I'm glad that people were enjoying it. Next up is Harley Quinn. He's going to space and is getting a weekly series. I don't love weekly series, but I'm also not reading Harley Quinn, so I don't think this affects me too much.
It's only weekly and for a while, and then it goes and gets an annual, and then it sets up a new status quo for her. So
okay.
I don't know what that is going to be. So it's only going to be it's only for a month. It's only for a month, but I'm not going to read it, but I am curious what that
the next chapter is.
Yeah, what that leads into.
Yeah. All right, moving on to Wonder Woman's mom is going to become a goddess in Olympus Rebirth. You know, what sucks is like we keep trying to get into Wonder Woman, and this actually sounds interesting. I'm like, oh, she's dead, and like now she's becoming a god. That's like a cool concept. But I'm worried because we always go jumping into Wonder Woman. It's the same creative team. So I'm like, oh, it depends on the week. Because I'm like, this is a cool concept, but I've been burned by Wonder Woman too much. You don't like the concept?
Because a character can never stay fucking dead. Just leave her out of the comic. Like, the concept would be good maybe 3 years from now. Be like, oh, remember this big event that you had in DC Comics with Trial of the Amazons where she got murdered and it was this big murder mystery and she's been out of comics for so long? Like, we can't even keep her out of the comic for more than two weeks. Like, she just died. You did that whole event just to bring her back in some other book in some like god form? Like, who gives a shit? Like, that whole thing is just, it doesn't make sense unless that was their plan right from the start.
They could have, yeah.
Oh, we're gonna make Nubia the queen, and Pola, we're gonna make her a god, and maybe that was their plan the whole time. And kind of mislead people that this character is actually going to die and you're not going to see her again, you know?
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they take it. I think it's a very different story, which is why I was like, oh, like you haven't seen that. So that's interesting. But we'll see what happens. It depends on the week for sure.
Willie's like, it's a comic, bro. People don't stay dead. I totally get that. Don't. I've been reading comics for most of my life. I know that. Trust me. But when you kill a person and they come back in 2 weeks later, that's just too soon for me. You know, for a while, it was at least a year. And then now it's just like, I don't know, that frustrates me. That shows me that comics have gimmicks and cash grabs all the time. Like, that's what it is. But you made it this big event that someone is dying and then she's coming back literally the following month. To me, that was just a big scam, right?
Yeah, no, I agree on that one. I hate when comics don't have stakes. That is definitely one of my biggest pet peeves, just to have it for the headline.
Did they use the Dragon Balls?
They did. That's actually going to be the next issue of Wonder Woman. That's what we're going to find out.
The crossover, Dragon Ball Z and Wonder Woman crossover.
Oh my God, that would sell.
Yeah, actually it would, because people would want to read Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, and they're gonna be like, why is this? What team up is this? I would read it. I don't even like Dragon Ball. I read it. Like, what type of crossover is this? We do have our main topic right now. So we're going to talk about Joshua Williamson leaving Robin, and then also the Batman vs. Robin series is spinning out of World's Finest that we're kind of teasing before. It's such a shame because I was just saying Robin is legit one of the best books on stands and legit one of the best DC books, and it's been so consistent. I'm like, damn. But you know what? We had Joshua Williamson for a while, and I'm surprised with a lot of his friends leaving DC that he stayed. But I'm sure he's going to move on to some Substack stuff after this. I think he's done the DC thing, or he's doing more of the Crisis stuff. I don't know, but it seems like he's leaving DC. That's what it seems like.
It's more of the Crisis stuff. He said he was leaving the book to focus on the Crisis, and I think it needs his attention because he is the main person behind it, and this is an important event, I feel, for DC, and I feel like in order for him to impress the higher ups, they need to do something big, and he needs his attention there. Also, who knows? Like, he might be done with the story. He might be done with what he had to say when
Which
it
is
comes
fine.
to Robin, because he did well. And my thing right from the beginning was, what's he going to do after the whole Lazarus thing, right? And sure enough, we get this one little event that's going on, and he has nothing else to say because obviously now we got the Crisis event going on. But I think he did a wonderful job with the series.
And I think more writers need to learn that. Just be like, all right, we're telling a 12-issue story. That's it. Wiping my hands. That's the story I want to tell. And that's why I think this book was so good. It was just so consistent, so paced so well. I am curious if that Robin series is going to continue, or is it going to be this Batman vs. Robin series, which I'm so curious to see how the hell does that spin out of World's Finest? Because Damian was not even in that book.
I know.
So curious to see.
Maybe because they're messing with time. So maybe something happens there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I am so invested. Robin, like I said, is just what I'm enjoying the most from DC. So I'm actually very interested in both series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What I liked about the Robin series so much is this, like, how they actually, what should I say? How they actually made Damian, how he wasn't just this prick the entire time. They gave him layers, right? They made him possibly get into a relationship, which we still have to find out what happens with that.
That's true. She was last we saw not a great girlfriend.
No,
not a great person.
She literally stole the heart of Robin, and it looked like they were like making something else out of it.
I'm also curious to see where Deathstroke Inc. goes after this, because that's been tying in with Shadow War, and he's been writing that. So there's a lot of interesting questions. We do have a comment from Fresh News. Well, whoever does Damian Wayne next, hopefully they actually do Damian Wayne and not make him a stand-in again. I mean, yeah, I think they've done a great job with Damian, so that's what I've been enjoying. So we will see. But that's all the news we had this week. So I think we're going to go into our most anticipated.
All right, so let me get there here. Most anticipated. Let me switch over back to the comics. All right, so Kat, what's your number 3?
My number 3 was Fox and Hare issue 1. It's a new Vault book, which I have not liked any Vault book just yet. So I'm hoping I like it. It's a superhero book. I want to get the exact description, but it's like very anime style. So the description says, when black market coder Yi uncovers top secret data that has tapped in the past lives of citizens of Meizu Bay, her world is turned upside down. The mega corporation wants its data back, and it's hot on her trail. Aurora has no choice but to turn to the Fox and Hare, the most feared mercenaries in the city, for protection. So I kind of like that, this anime vibe, this superhero vibe, kind of sci-fi lean. So I was like, all right, it looks different. So I'm giving that one a shot.
Cool. All right, and then this is surprising. What the fuck's going on in Avengers that you're buying this?
Jane Foster is in it. It's a Jane Foster like Thor Valkyrie issue. So and it's Jason Aaron who wrote Jane Foster
Right.
Thor. So that's the only reason why I'm picking this up. It's only this issue. So picking this up for Jane. And
That's
excited for Jane as well. So I was like, oh yeah, no, this looks exciting. And it's like a one and done. So it's not like an arc either. It's just a one issue.
right. And
Yeah,
then, of course,
hopefully it's good.
Amazing Spider-Man issue 2.
I gotta find out why Mary Jane's leaving. I want to know what's going on with her. There was a big cliffhanger in issue 1, and it seems like they're gonna be dealing with it in this issue. So very excited for that.
That's right. And then we'll talk about Brant's.
Yes.
The Amazing Spider-Man issue 2 is his number 3. Obviously, probably for all the same reasons. Punisher issue 3, which is a solid series.
So close to making my top 3, but I was like, I'll give it to Avengers because that's different.
Punisher is really good right now. I can't wait to see how that story develops. Then we have Unnatural Blue Blood.
I think that's Merca and Dafoe book.
Yeah, that's the sequel to that from the first series. All right. And then mine, I have Something is Killing the Children, issue 23. Things are starting to get better in this second, I would say, story arc when it comes to Something is Killing the Children. Erica Slaughter kind of gets framed for a murder that happened, and she's going to be in jail, which is kind of cool. There's also this there's this other house that, like, kills people, I guess people that are part of the house, former houses or whatnot. So I thought that was kind of cool too. Also, my number 2 now is Gunslinger Spawn issue 8. A lot of people already know how I feel about Gunslinger. He's such a kick-ass character, and I'm going to do a video about Gunslinger, I think, this week for the weekend, because I got some questions to ask the audience about how they feel about him. And then my number 1, obviously with you, Kat, is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 2. All for the reasons why you said it. I need to find out why Mary Jane and Peter are not even basically on talking terms. Why does Mary Jane have fucking kids? Who the hell is freaking Paul, right? Is that his name? Who is
Paul? Yeah.
I was like, Paul. I almost said Bob because Bob is such a generic name to say. But I was just like, Paul, I was like, it's Paul. So who's Paul, So I'm excited about all that stuff. And I just want to see how things develop in Amazing Spider-Man. Listen, I get it. The artwork might not be a lot of people's favorite, but seems to be an intriguing story there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story outweighs the art so far. We'll see with issue 2. I might feel differently, but issue 1, I thought the story outweighed the art.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. So I guess with that being said, we're done, right?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show. Hopefully everyone's on next week. And we'll be back to the trio. I guess we have a lot of good books to talk about next week. I don't think there's a lot of huge books, but there's a lot of good books. So that's what I'm excited about.
Yeah. And we'll definitely have that more Amazing Spider-Man conversation as we just get a little bit more, a little bit more told to us. So hopefully we'll figure out stuff.
Oh, someone brought up a really good point though about that free comic book day thing, where Moira from X-Men took over Mary Jane's body. May's not even Mary Jane. That could be interesting. Who's in this book?
Man.
Right? That's because I didn't even like put 2 and 2 together.
So you're saying that Mary Jane's a clone?
Yeah, like this might not even be Mary Jane.
Wow. That would be weird. Yeah, because Moira was captured her. But the way she skins people alive, like, did she take Mary Jane's skin and now is wearing her skin?
It could be. Yeah, no, that'd be interesting.
We have a Mary Jane, maybe a misplaced Mary Jane from a different time.
Which would be really cool too, especially if you play with the clone aspect, because Mary Jane's never been cloned. She's the only one who hasn't been. So that, I don't know. I think that'd be cool. It's interesting because like it's so connected to X-Men. So would a flagship Spider-Man book be so connected to X-Men?
Man, that would be weird. That would be weird if we were trying to piece this together already. But you make a good point. maybe it is a different Mary Jane from a different
Yeah.
time that's married to Paul, who has with him. That's crazy. God, time will tell. I'm
Maybe
not gonna
tomorrow.
lie. I'm kind of jonesing for some Spider-Man. Like, we used to get it like every single week, and I feel like we've gotten one issue in like 2 months, and I'm like dying without it.
Yeah, no, me too. It's been weird. I just want it every 2 weeks. I don't want it every week anymore, but I do like it every 2 weeks because that's kind of what we're used to. And I do miss
Right.
just talking about Spider-Man. It's weird to get, especially because Spider-Man doesn't have a lot of miniseries right now either, at least ones I'm not picking up. So it just really is just a flagship.
Yeah, absolutely. And we got one question here. It says, "Are you guys going to buy X-Men Gala?" Yeah, it's only one issue,
I'm
so
not.
I'm definitely going to buy it,
I
especially
don't
if
need the
Spider-Man's
outfits.
going to be in it and Mary Jane.
Yeah, you do have the costumes for Mary Jane. We'll see. We'll see because of Spider-Man and Mary Jane. But I really dislike the original one, so I can't see the sequel being any better.
At least it's not an event. It's only one
Yeah,
issue.
it's only one night. It's only one night at the gala.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see what type of week it is. That's always what I say. Because if there's like 3 books coming out, of course I'll pick it up. Because like, what else is there to pick up? Like again, the Batman annual, like I was talking about with that. It's just like I'm getting the Batman annual because there's nothing else coming out, or else I wouldn't be getting that.
I think I'm passing on all the annuals when that shit comes out.
There's literally 4 books coming out. There's
they're
so little books coming out that week.
so expensive. Like,
They are.
oh, maybe they'll adjust their price too. I don't know. We'll see.
I would hope so. But yeah, we leave you with that, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed
Yes.
this show. I guess you usually end it, so you tell us what we should be plugging.
All right, guys. So thank you for joining us tonight. Like Kat said, hopefully we'll get Brant back on. Hopefully all 3 of us are on next week. And of course, guys, we're going to say it to you. If you like this stream, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let other people know that this stream exists. It exists
Yes.
on Comic Book Corner 2.0. It exists on the Comic Book Weekly YouTube channel where you can literally watch each and every episode back to back to back to back to back if you choose to. So remember, subscribe to both channels. Hit the bell so you don't miss the notification when this show does go live. We try our best to put it on the social media, which is mainly Facebook, then Twitter, very little Instagram, and then, of course, it is on YouTube. So, of course, guys, that's all we have for you. This is the waving portion. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week, and thank you for tuning in.